Hello, I'm Ravi Handa and welcome to another video where we talk about, do active mutual funds beat their benchmark? In the last video, I compared the large cap funds, and today I'm planning to do a little bit more. The central idea behind this series is, when I first started investing, I picked up mutual fund X, mutual fund Y because someone told me to. Some of them did meet their benchmarks and some of them did not. I realized the concept of benchmarks probably 10 years after I started investing. And post that, I have been heavily into index funds. I personally like index funds a lot for the simplicity that they offer. However, some people tend to make an argument that by investing in index funds, you are leaving a lot of money on the table because active funds can do a better job. Not something that I believe in personally, but I wanted to look at the data. The bigger problem that I see with the data that exists in form of SPIVA, etc., is they consider the entire space. Now, I don't think that I would randomly pick a fund. I will put in some effort into it. I would maybe go to an expert like a mutual fund distributor who will tell me which funds to pick, but then that comes at an extra cost also. So what do? I will do some research myself and maybe I'm able to pick good funds. And with that ideology, I looked at the set of mid cap and small cap funds that I wanted to pick. So, how do I decide that? I thought that, okay, my knowledge is limited. Let me rely on some experts. Morningstar, which is one of the most reputed names in the financial world and not just the mutual fund data part, they give out awards. They give out awards every year or two, mid cap and a small cap, mid small cap funds. That's the category that they have. At least that's the awards that they gave out in 2009, 2010. And I looked at those award winners. These guys have decided in the entire year, with all the data, all the knowledge, all the information that they have, that the winner for a particular fund in 2009 was the Reliance Growth Fund, or the 2012 it was the UTI MNC Fund. So these guys picked these funds as the single best fund of the year for the small and mid cap category. Can they make a mistake? Well, I don't know if they can make a mistake, but they are going to be better than what I would do on my own. These are obviously experts in their domain. And if the funds that they are picking, if those are the ones which are able to beat the benchmarks, then I would be a little bit hopeful about that. However, the data, we will just see the data shortly. Over and over again, whatever form you want to slice and dice it into, you will come to a realization that going with the index is the obvious choice. And I'm just presenting my case in favor of index funds by looking at the data of the best funds of the year, 15 years down the line. How am I comparing it? I'm comparing it based upon the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year returns that they have given. I'm recording this video in early June 2026, just to give you some idea, which is clearly the awards are 2009. So long time ago, these awards were won. So how have they done in the last 5, 7, and 10 years? 10-year parameter is what I'm most interested in. And also how the rolling returns have been. So I've looked at the 5-year rolling returns that these funds provided with respect to the benchmark, and those are the comparisons. Another thing that I want to highlight is that some of these funds don't really exist in that format anymore. The Reliance Growth Fund has now become the Nippon India Growth Mid Cap, the Birla Sun Life Mid Cap, that has Aditya Birla Sun Life. So that has remained the same. The UTI MNC Fund has become the UTI Transportation and Logistics Fund. Nippon India Growth Mid Cap Fund, the regular plan, how has it done? Well, it has beaten the benchmark. In the 5-year part, it has beaten quite comprehensively, but even in the 10-year part, it has beaten by close to 75 basis points, which is significant. If it was just 5 basis points, 10 basis points, I would have said that both of them are more or less equal, but no. So the regular plan here has indeed beaten the index. So is my index theory wrong? We will see. In the case of rolling returns, well, in some cases, the benchmark is winning very clearly, let's say from 2006 to 2020. And in some cases, the fund becomes a winner. So I will not say there is a clear winner here. They're very much benchmark hugging in nature. The direct plan, do things improve? Well, if in the regular plan the returns are better, then in the direct plan they're bound to be even better. And once again, they have beaten the index, beaten the benchmark quite comprehensively. And even in the rollings return part. So earlier, I wasn't able to give confidently the award to the index fund, but now I can very clearly see that for a long period of time, see this particular part, even here, when there was a fall in 2025, the fund has clearly beaten the benchmark. So it is doing well. So if you were an investor in that, congrats, feeling a little swag. Let's look at the Aditya Birla Sun Life Mid Cap Fund. Well, this has fallen behind the benchmark and by substantially. So this 30.73 and 17.85. So that's a 4% gap, which is there. And frankly speaking, way too much. 4% over a 10-year period is life-changing for us. So yeah, it's not done that well compared to the benchmark. And even in the case of rolling returns, can you see the gap here between the benchmark and the fund here? The gap is significant and it stays significant for a very, very long period of time. So if you had invested in this one, betting on the award by Morningstar, it won't have turned out that well for you. Let's look at, do the things improve in the direct plan? Well, they are bound to improve, but by how much? So the gap, which was a 4% gap there, now it has become a 3% gap. Because that 1% is essentially what you're paying via whatever medium you are getting into that particular fund. But the 3% gap still exists. And 3% is significant when it comes over a 10-year compounding period. Even in the rolling returns part, the winner is still the benchmark. The gap is way too huge for just the fee difference between the regular and direct to cover it. Let's look at the Aditya Birla Sun Life MNC fund. How are things there? In the MNC fund, the gap is, this is surprising even to me that it has given just 8% and 14%. That's a 6% gap. This is shocking. The uh, it's not just falling behind the benchmark, it is falling behind the benchmark by 6 percentage points. That's the return that an FD gives you. It's like missing out on a whole asset class of returns. This has been very, very bad. And please remember, this is a fund that Morningstar gave an award to. So it is not that you missed out. And once again, if you look at the gap here, it was actually doing very well till 2020. Post 2020 is where it got messed up. I believe some of the reasons, and I did dig a little bit deeper into it, was the rally which happened post COVID. It did not really benefit the MNC sector that much. And that is why it lost out. Which is another reason why I don't like active funds per se, but, not liking and actively disliking is different. So I actively dislike the sectoral or the thematic funds for this precise reason. There will be periods when it will beat the benchmark handsomely. There will be periods where it will be falling behind the benchmark by a huge margin. I don't know when that is going to happen. So if I invested here and I got out here, I was brilliant because I beat the benchmark handsomely. But if I got in here, or if I stayed for the entire period, I lost out. So it's very difficult for me as an investor to time both an entry as well as an exit into a sectoral fund or a thematic fund. So that's why I'm not a fan of those. And whole different ballgame when it comes to sectoral funds over there. I don't think that the things are going to improve just by moving from regular to direct. The gap reduces by 1%, the commissions that are being paid out. But again, very clearly, benchmark continues to be the winner. How about the UTA Transportation and Logistics Fund? So once again, a sectoral fund. It has fallen behind the benchmark, but thankfully not as substantial in the previous case. So this is a gap of around 1%. And in rolling returns, there is no clear winner, which you could say. And, so the benchmark here is BSE Auto is the one where the benchmark that they are comparing with. I don't even know if there is a way to buy the BSE Auto in an index fund, but that's the benchmark that they have chosen. That's a benchmark they're claiming to beat, and that's why you should pay them a fee. They haven't been able to do that. No clear winner here as well. If I look at the direct plan, do things improve? Yes. There, the benchmark was the winner, but the gap was not significant. And as soon as you remove the commissions, at least you are on a more or less equal front. I would say the gap is there of 50 basis points, and it is in favor of the fund. So I will give some portion of it to the fund, but here it is behind, here also it is behind. That's the reason going in with no clear winner. Although it is ahead by 50 basis points. Let me just add that and be specific. And this gap has happened, but this gap has been covered up because you removed commissions from the bid chart. Be careful about the fee that you are paying. In rolling returns, however, I would not be able to pick a very clear winner in this case either. So, what's the summary of our entire discussion? We looked at 4 funds. I have also forgotten who indirect or regular. So, let's just have a look at the data. So, in this case, what happened is in the regular plan, in 1 out of 8 cases, the fund is the winner. 5 cases, the benchmark is the winner. And in 2 cases, there wasn't any clear winner. So, picking a fund is hard. And if there is someone who is charging you a commission in the middle to recommend those funds to you, beating the benchmark just becomes tougher and tougher. And the most important thing that I want you to take back from this video is not just what the gaps are or who the winners are. Wherever you look at, whoever is the winner, the gap between the benchmark and the fund is not that high. They more or less keep hugging each other over long periods of time. When you look at the direct plan, things improve a little bit. The new Nippon India mid-cap fund, that beats the benchmark comfortably. The logistics, transportation and logistics fund, there is no clear winner. And the benchmark is the winner in the other 4 remaining. So what is the conclusion that we can draw? Well, the conclusion that we can draw, which I sort of have made up my mind and I'm trying to convince you, is it's very difficult to select a fund which will meet the benchmark. So you should essentially just think about buying the benchmark. This also gave us some insights into why sectoral funds can be a very risky bet. But the much bigger point is that, yes, there are funds which will beat the benchmark. There will be 20% of them, 30% of them, 50% of them. We don't know. But there is no way for me or you to select the fund which is going to win over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years, over the next 30 years. We don't know what is going to happen. The fund managers will move, change jobs, they will die. But the benchmark will continue to exist. And for the same fund to continue outperformance, it's highly unlikely. And you picking that fund is even more unlikely. I hope you like this video. I will be making more videos in this series. And so this was a comparison of the small and mid cap one. I did a video on large cap funds. The link for that will be there in the description as well. And I can see some of you getting angry about that. Oh, you are only talking about award winners and there is a bias with the award that, okay, they have become, significantly big and they have become very prominent. And that is why they cannot repeat the performance. Well, how are you going to pick first? The question still stands. What is the basis for you to pick a winning fund for long term? Well, another theory which I'm going to look at is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the funds which are popular. And by popular, I mean the funds which are getting the most money in a particular year. That is going to be the subject for the next video, where I once again try and answer the question, do active funds beat the benchmark? Then on.